What causes stagflation? There could be a variety of causes. One possible cause is a significant supply shock, such as the global disruption of oil supply that happened in the 1970s. Another supply shock happened during the COVID-19 pandemic, where challenges in global supply chains led to shortages for many goods and prices shot up. Ironically, the situation a few years ago produced both elements of stagflation, but sequentially, not simultaneously. The economy slowed. We were in short and shallow recession in the first half of 2020. But then, as supply chains got gummed up, inflation rose over 8% in early 2022. And that's when central banks chose to use belated but draconian actions to bring inflation under control. That brought about a bear market in stocks and bonds in 2022. But stagflation can also stem from poor economic policies, such as when central banks print excessive amounts of money, causing high inflation, at the same time as a country experiencing a weak economy, which is what happened recently in Argentina. The concern in the second half of 2025 is that US President Donald Trump's tariffs are generally considered by economists to raise inflation while dampening growth at the same time. The policies seem to be pushing economies in a stagflationary direction. That's a real concern. Stagflation can drive up prices for consumers on everyday goods from food to gas. Here in Canada, we're all watching for the release of new inflation data closely. It's been creeping up a bit in recent months, but while it still hasn't reached over 3%, it remains much lower today than it was back in 2022 when it was over 8%. The trend still has people feeling nervous. Now that we have a sense of what might cause inflation, we need to acknowledge that a material risk exists that it might recur sometime soon. In fact, it would be foolish not to acknowledge that risk. Have you examined your portfolio and made any adjustments to protect yourself if stagflation makes a comeback after a half century of dormancy? There's a saying that those who ignore history are destined to repeat it. Due to both recency bias and optimism bias, I feel that many investors have lulled themselves into a complacent mindset that assumes stagflation couldn't make a return appearance, or that even if it did, they would somehow be spared. Not to be that guy, but what if they're wrong?